Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. It's that time of the week where we get to take a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. Alright, first one is not a new knife, but it is a new deal. We have here on closeout a pretty affordable Bolo machete from Schrade. This is titled the Schrade Bolo Machete. It's got a 14-inch blade, comes in about 25 bucks. And it's more than just the machete itself, and I'll get to that in a second. But these are, like I said, on closeout. We used to have these a bit more expensive, but we're able to pass on a significant savings to you guys. Now, I haven't actually put one of these through the paces and see how it actually holds up, but you get a lot for that 25 bucks, and especially with the holidays coming up, might make a really good gift for the budding outdoorsman in your list, or just something to play around with. Like I said, 14-inch blade, it's a stainless steel, it's 3CR13, and on most of the time on pocket knives, people might shy away from that steel because it's not gonna hold an edge, but it is gonna be tougher than some of those more abrasion-resistant steels with the longer edge holding. And on a big type of machete or small chopper that you're gonna be swinging, that toughness is gonna be appreciated. Now, thickness on this, it's a little bit thicker, about 1/8 of an inch. So it's not a super thin blade, so you actually do get a pretty good amount of heft. It really feels like this knife wants to swing thanks to that thickness and that forward weight distribution of this blade shape itself. Now the handle is a rubber overmold here. Pretty comfortable, plenty of length even for bigger hands. And being rubber, of course, it's gonna be able to absorb some vibrations when you really are kind of hammering on things. But it seems pretty solid, and like I said, not just the blade for that money, you also get a really nice sheath system, not just the sheath itself. It is a sheath, of course, it's nylon that can carry it, and you do have a nice baldric rig included as well. This has more than just a simple belt strap, so you can sling this around your shoulder and carry it very easily. And then here on the front is actually a removable pouch. You can take this off. Pardon me while I take this off. You can either carry it there on the sheath like so, or it's got a nice belt loop here on the back. And what this carries is some extra bit of kit for your outdoor needs. You've got a scraper for the ferrocerium rod here, so you've got a fire starter built in, and you've even got a diamond sharpener in that pouch. Now, I'm not sure what kind of grit this is. It's not it doesn't feel like a super fine grit, but hey, it's 25 bucks for this whole package. And you really have, maybe like I said, for the young survivalist out there, someone who's looking to practice some skills and just enjoy their time in the outdoors, you've got a whole package here, all inclusive with the stuff you're gonna need to cover a whole bunch of different bases for 25 bucks. We've actually got two 3CR13 knives to show you today. This one's a lot smaller though, as you can see. Quite a discrepancy right there, quite a disparity right there between the two. But we've got the new black oxide versions of the Spyderco Bug and HoneyBee. The larger one, the HoneyBee, is about 1.7 inches, and that's $25.20, so it's about the same price as that Bolo. So you tell me which is the bargain there. But this one, the Bug, 1 1/4 inch blade, 3CR steel. But it's just one of those, it's not one of those things where it really matters that you don't have a top-of-the-line steel. This is just a simple keychain knife with a Lilliputian blade. But these are the all-black oxide versions that were just revealed in reveal number 6 from Spyderco. Make sure you can check out our interview with Eric Glesser. We'll leave a link to that, where he showed us all the knives from reveal number 6, but these are the first to arrive. Stainless steel construction with no visible pins from the outside, so even though it's small, there is a little bit to the manufacturing of this to make it look nice and clean the way that it does. But yeah, 21 bucks on this, 25.20 for the larger knife. All right, next up we've got 2 new entries into the Kizer Sheepdog series. A new mini and a new full size. The mini is $169 right now. The full size is $204. And we've got a flat laid carbon fiber, a flat layered carbon fiber handle on both of these. So instead of a normal carbon fiber weave, you actually see the layering like you might on a piece of G10 or micarta with alternating colors. Creates a really cool look, a really nice feel in the hand too. It feels very different from the titanium handled versions, or even the micarta versions for that matter. And it's also nice and lightweight. I mean, this full-size one, despite having the 3.3-inch blade and a big old blade at that, being the cleaver shape, is about 4.5 ounces. So it's not a featherweight, but it is. You can feel the difference in the hand versus the other versions. Blade steel on this one, both of them actually are S35 VN. On the mini, you've got a stonewashed finish, and on the full size, you have a black stonewashed finish. That matches the clip as well. Nice wide milled pocket clip right there. Pairs well with the open back construction with the matching back spacers or barrel spacers on both of those. Now the mini is certainly nice. Still offers you a good bit of reach for day-to-day stuff. You're about 2.65 inches of blade steel, but you feel like you've got a little bit more because it's a 3-finger grip, but it's a nice secure hold, and you've got a real powerful blade shape. You really feel like you could do some heavier cuts with it, but if you want to get really heavy, you've got that standard size versions, which offer a full 4-fingered grip, even for my slightly larger than average sized hands, and just a nice meaty blade to work with. Liner lock on these, of course, so that they can bring that carbon fiber onto the back side rather than having a frame lock version, but the flipping action is still very, very good. All right, next up we've got several new knives from Fox. Actually, we've got even more on the website than I pulled here. I've got 3 new designs here, but there are a bunch of new entries onto our site. And the first here is a new version of their Radius folder. This is a new limited edition version. They're really pumping out some really cool high-end variants of this knife. Very expensive on this one. This one is $1259.25, so quite an expensive knife. But they do what they can to try and make it special and spice things up a little bit. But if you do like the design as I go over it, there are cheaper versions, of course, starting, I want to say, around the 180 mark, if I'm remembering correctly, for some G10 versions with different blade steel. But this one has a Damasteel blade. It's their, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I always do, the Geizing or Geizing, something like that, pattern. But I really like this. It's a little bit bolder than some of the other Damasteel patterns because it's got sort of a broader, wavy look to it as opposed to some of the real fine patterns that they have. And it looks really good against this handle too, which is, they call it Space Coral, which is a carbon fiber infused with some copper thread, but it's different from like the Lightning Strike and that sort of thing. It's more infused, it's more pervasive throughout. You can actually see a lot of what looks like a topographic map actually here on the front of it, and you see it pop out a little bit more on the spine. It's gonna be really hard, I think, for this to really come across in the camera because it's just kind of pretty special looking. Milled pocket clip as well, and of course the radial lock, or actually what do they call it? Let me check here. They actually call it the Fingers Safe Button Lock, but it is sort of, it's kind of a clunky name, but that's all right. What you do is this thumb stud here, well, you can kind of think of it as a cross or a combination between a thumb stud and a button lock, because you actually push that down and then rotate it along that radius or that radial path right there, giving the name to the knife. It's really nice, and one of the advantages of it actually locks in the closed position too. You can't open this with 2 hands. You actually have to push that button in and rotate it open. Plus, like some other button lock systems, you don't have to put your fingers in front of the sharpened edge while you're closing the blade, so it's nice and safe too. Now these versions are limited. This is number 21 of 103, and that carries through to the packaging as well. You've actually got on the top of the box here, part of the billet of Damasteel that they cut this exact knife blade out of, because it is also serialized 21 of 103 right there. And the packaging does its best to live up to that price point as well. You've actually got a drawer type of system here, and I'm not gonna take it completely apart, but you can see here, once I lift this up, there's a really nice pouch in there and some other stuff going on, but it's just a really nice presentation overall. All right, next up from Fox, we've got a new Karambit design from Doug Marcaida. This is the Dart, coming in at just over 170 right now. And as you can see, rather than a hawkbill blade, we've got a Tonto profile on this Karambit. It's a bit over 2.5 inches of blade length, and you've got that Emerson Wave style opener right there. So you've got some real good quick draw applications for it. You've got a pocket clip here, which is reversible for either side, so you can carry it left or right. And as you draw it, that wave is gonna catch on the hem of your pants, and you can rotate that blade out so you can draw it in one smooth motion and have that edge ready to go. But because it's a tanto shape rather than a hawkbill, it's going to be a little bit more versatile for just everyday cutting tasks as well. There are certainly some advantages to a hawkbill, but it does tend to work more for certain specialized types of cuts. You'll get a little bit more overall utility with this tanto shape. You've got N690 steel, so you've got good performance, and it's nice and blacked out to match the blacked out frame, so there's not a whole lot of reflections to have to worry about. G10 handle, nice liner lock there, and of course a nice metal ring on the back. It's completely crowned over on all edges, so there's no sharp bits to get stuck on your finger, cause any hot spots. But basically it's just, it's just as good, just as premium as all the other Italian-made Fox Karambits out there, just with that new blade shape on there. And of course the, the pedigree of Doug Marcaida. I think you know what he would say about this design. All right, next up we've got a small parang from Fox. This is actually they're kind of billing this and putting this together as a one-tool option survival package, or one-tool option survival knife with a survival kit included, and I'll get to that in a second. But as for the blade itself, it's shorter than what I usually think of as a parang. This is only a 7-inch blade, so it's not really a big hard-swinging machete or chopper, but they tried to do it the best they could to keep a decent amount of power in this more portable frame, or portable size overall. We've got N690 steel, 7 inches of length, as I said. Nice full flat grind, or almost full flat grind across the whole thing, but it's nice and thick too. Let's see, what are we dealing with here? Full 1/4 inch, or just shy of a 1/4 inch of thickness. So you've got a good amount of strength for batoning and that sort of thing. And there's a decent bit of weight to it. You could do some light chopping. I see the sweet spot kind of being right about here, if I were to guess. Again, lighter stuff. It's not going to be chopping down a tree type of stuff, but taking down some smaller branches, building a shelter, that sort of thing is going to work, I think, pretty well. In addition to that, I also think this would make a decent camp food prep knife, in fact. With that high flat grind and this type of geometry, you're going to be able to pull some longer slicing cuts off well. Maybe not too much types of rock chopping types of cuts, although possibly if you're hanging off the edge of a picnic table or a cutting board, you might be able to get a little bit with that. This would be a decent hunting pattern too, because you've got such an upsweep to the belly here. If you like a larger knife when hunting, I know most people tend to prefer a smaller knife, but if you do like a bigger one, this is going to do a good job. You can certainly choke up really nicely with all the width of that blade there, and do those sweeping cuts with the belly of the edge right here. You've also got the ability to choke up on this full-size choil right here. I do have pretty big fingers and I'm a little cramped, so take that under advisement, but you can get a little bit finer control for the carving stuff. Of course, you've got a couple of lashing points and then protruding lanyard here at the back. This is a full tang design, bolt-on handles, as you can see, but what's nice is they actually wrap all the way around, which is quite nice. Now the material for this handle, there's a little bit of tack to it. They're calling it tan, or the color's tan, they're calling it Forprene. I actually didn't do any research on that material. I just know it's kind of a hard rubber material. The grip is not bad. Maybe a little more contouring would be more to my liking, but it's definitely going to get the job done. But then included, of course, you've got a sheath and a survival kit, which I'll get to here in a second. Pretty run-of-the-mill sheath, or I shouldn't say run-of-the-mill, pretty standard tactical style of sheath with all the accoutrements you would expect. You've got MOLLE compatibility, or some MOLLE webbing on the front, some MOLLE compatible straps on the back. You could carry it standard belt style carry. You've got a couple of straps here on the front for extra retention, and a few things here off the side, a little bit of stretchy material here for some other lashing to integrate it into some other packs that may not have MOLLE. Basically, you've got a ton of options here. And then finally, the survival kit itself comes in a nice pouch. Again, MOLLE on the back, Velcro on the front, and you get this nice tin here. And I'm not gonna go through all the items in it. I'll simply kind of open the lid and show you. You've got some a match case here, compass, whistle, thread, tinder, all kinds of kind of survival basics. But you've also got the nice tin, which you could of course use for some other things. Once you pull these things out, you could use it to cook in if you need to. You could use it to make char cloth, all kinds of stuff, but it makes a really nice package too. All right, moving on, we've got a new American outdoor knife from Tops. This is the new 3-pointer, and it's a little bit smaller than I thought it was gonna be just based on the photos. This does come in just over 94, or just under 94 bucks right now. But yeah, it's a nice smaller size, a bit over 3 inches of blade. And I could actually see this being a really cool alternative to something like an Essie Azula. Classic knife, but if you're looking for something different, maybe this will do the trick for you. Got 1095 steel, powder coated to protect it from corrosion, just like most of the top stuff out there and most of the Azulas as well. You've got 1/8 of an inch blade stock there, but the blade has a nice, almost full height flat grind, good amount of belly. It's gonna be a really good slicer, I think, given that small size. And of course, with a name like three-pointer, you'd expect it to be a good skinning knife. You can certainly get out there right behind the tip so you can protect anything from that sharp point there and use all of that belly right there. It feels very comfortable in that type of grip. There's not so much excess handle that it's getting in the way when I grip it like so. Sometimes there can be with other knives. It's just enough handle for that task. You've got a prominent finger groove here, so you've got a good amount of retention from slipping either forward or backward. Micarta handles with some nice red liners. Nice solid grip. I can get about 3.5 fingers on that, which is about the same as what I can get on an Azula. The Azula 2, I can get a little bit more, but that's got the longer handle. So you've got enough there. You could do some of that whittling work, small day-to-day, small around the camp tasks, that sort of thing. It's just really cool. I'm really liking this design. Comes with a nice Kydex sheath here. And you've got a couple of carry options. You, of course, have these 2 straps right here, so you could carry it scout style or horizontal cross draw across your body. You can also, of course, take the nice survival whistle off here and use the top two eyelets on this Kydex here to carry it neck fashion. Or if you prefer, this will fit a standard large size tech lock, so you can carry it in a few different fashions that way as well. All right, next up we've got a new case knife. This is a new Copperlock coming in about $96 right now, and it's got this really cool engraved bone handle where you've kind of got this etched American flag kind of breaking through the bone, and it's really nice. It's a little bit on the subtler side if you don't want to be too shouty with your knife, but you get to kind of show your American pride with that as well. It's just really nicely and tastefully done. The backside is smooth bone, so that works well also, and especially looks good with those brass liners on either side of that back lock right there. Blade length on these is a little bit over 3 inches. You've got that mirror polished stainless steel blade. It's a case, so you've got their True Sharp stainless, which is nothing high end. It's more just a kind of an everyday good looking steel when it takes that high polish really nicely. But the whole Copperlock series, whether you look at this or any of the other handle versions or the smaller versions which have a sub 3-inch blade, they're really good options if you like classic looking slip joints but you prefer the security of a lock. This is one of those good things that kind of bridges, or good models that really bridges the gap between those two schools of thought. All right, next up we've got a new ProTech. This is the TR2, the Tactical Response 2. And this particular one is a sterile version, meaning there's no blade markings whatsoever. You've just got that black coating. It's a DLC over 154 cm steel, a little bit over 3 inches in length, with just a classic drop point profile that's going to be good utility, as well as aggressive when you need it to be. The handles are black aluminum, again, no markings here as well, but they did do one thing to kind of embellish it up just a little bit, and that's on the actual push button for the automatic action itself. You see there's this little white line there, and it's actually a tritium insert. So even when it's dark out, even if it's been living in a drawer and hasn't been charged up by sunlight, that tritium is gonna glow, so you can always locate that button in a hurry if you really need to. Fold it up here, you can see how discreet that is when it's gonna be clipped in your pocket with a standard 3-hole style of pocket clip right there. And being a ProTech, it's got some good action, you better believe it. All right, next up, we've got a new version of the DPX HEST flipper. This is a little bit different than some of the other flipper versions of these that we've gotten in that have come out recently. And the reason is they're calling this the Leggaro version. This is an Italian-made knife, even though it doesn't have the roto block like most of the Italian DPXs do. But if you're familiar with exotic cars like Super Leggera is like the super light version of some things, what it's like the Lamborghinis. It's the Lamborghinis, right? It's the Lamborghinis, yeah. My video guy confirmed, it's the Lamborghinis. I had a little bit of a brain fart there. But those are the super light stripped out versions that usually have to pay extra for them to take stuff out, makes them go faster. But this one is a little bit lighter weight than the other versions of the flipper so far. And I think that's because of the milling out of the inside they've done on these titanium frames. Now the price on this comes in at $360. You've got that full titanium frame. It's got a really nice pattern milled into it. It's almost like a diamond checkered pattern. Think of like an old school 1911 grip that's then had the peaks all kind of sanded down a little bit. Creates a really good look and a really good amount of traction without it being sharp under your hand. Blade steel is M390, bit over 3 inches, about 3 1/8 as per usual, and the same thickness as usual as well, about 0.19 thickness overall. High flat grind, so they kind of balance the slicing characteristics a little bit with that outright strength. There on the spine of the knife, you can use this little cutout for a couple things. Bottle opener for one, and also a pocket deployer like the Emerson Wave. And then the jimping back here, you've got a few different diameters on the inside. You're supposed to be able to use that as a wire stripper as well. Then on the back, you've got that deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible, held in place in the back with the glass breaker right there, open back to construction. But of course, what you're all here for is because it's a flipper and you want to know how well it flips. Well, it's Italian made, it's got ball bearings, just like a Lamborghini, it's going to flip really well. All right, last but not least, we've got a couple of new Bestechs here. And I really like this first one. It's called the Mako, comes in at 68 bucks. And it's just a really good all-around larger pocket knife design. The blade itself is about 3 3/4 inch long, and you've got K110 steel with this, which is essentially a German-made equivalent of D2. Which is kind of cool. The Germans usually do everything with a real high degree of precision, so you can expect that they do this steel about as good as any D2 could ever possibly be anywhere in the world, I would say. But a really good blade shape overall. Like I said, 3 3/4 inch with this nice subtle drop point, nice high flat grind, and that leads all the way up into that swedge there, which runs on both sides. You can get a couple of different color options with these as well, both with the G10 and the blade finish. There's this black stone washed as well as a two-tone satin type of finish if you prefer a more conventional looking blade. But as far as the construction goes, you've got a liner lock underneath that G10, folded over pocket clip here on the back. It is right side tip up only. And then for the flipping action, you've got ball bearings in the pivot with that nice flipper there. Works quite well. Bestech always does a really good job with their affordable flippers, and this one is no exception. And last but not least, we have the Platypus, which kind of joins Bestech's tradition of having some really compelling D2 steel options right around that $50 mark. A few different colors on this as well. You can get a solid blue-gray or a solid orange, and then a few different layered patterns right here. This is the beige, orange, and black G10 on this particular handle. That looks pretty cool. As far as blade shape on this one, you've got that sheep's foot blade here with a two-tone finish on this with a pretty aggressive point for that. So you're gonna be able to put that to some pretty aggressive use on any kind of draw cuts or scoring or working on like a cutting surface. It's gonna work pretty well. And you're gonna have, kind of like some of these cleaver styles out there, a lot of confidence when you're pushing it through some heavier cuts as well. And the handle shape is a little bit out there. It doesn't sit super comfortably in my hand, but it's not so uncomfortable that it's gonna become unusable. It's just a little bit different than I'm used to. As far as opening action, again, ball bearings in the pivot. You can either use that flipper, or if you're a little better than me, you could probably do that middle finger flick, but you can use that opening hole in the blade itself to thumb open it. Deep carry pocket clip on this one, or not quite deep carry, but it is folded over. Right side tip up only again, and a nice black G10 backspacer here that gives you that lanyard hole at the end. All right, everyone, that is all I've got to show you this week. Make sure to let me know your favorites down in the comments section. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we will leave links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're over there, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, especially as we're getting into holiday season right now. Because if you're going to buy one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.